would say nice to see you, but honestly, I do not see anything in the room. For the next 15 minutes, we will have hopefully an interesting talk about agility, and what's happening with these concepts in today's world. The theme is very large, and being a panel, it will be an open discussion, and hopefully we will get most of the questions from you guys, from the audience. So, Cipri, I hope that you will see much better than us from here who wants to ask questions when the moment will come. But before we open to questions, I think that it will be proper to make like a small introductions for ourselves. I will start since I start talking. My name is Bogdan Muresan. I'm working in the IT industry for the last 25 years. For the first part of my life, I was a very technical person. Then I switched more to leadership. And for the last, I think already 17 years, I'm working in agile environments, become very passionate about it, leading teams, small teams, big teams. So I got to enjoy and to love this agile context a lot, and lately I'm speaking a lot about it. And I'm sure that today we'll have some good discussions around agile. Dan?
Okay, I'll go next. I'm Dan Mircea Suciu. I'm a lecturer at the Babeș-Bolyai University, Faculty of Mathematics and Computer Science. I'm teaching there for, 25 years, I guess. I have a couple of technical or expert courses, like databases and database management systems. But during this time, I introduced new courses in the curriculum of our faculty, like agile software development in the first year of our master programs, and software project management. This is the other one. In parallel with this, let's say, academic activity, I was involved in the development of many software projects. I collaborated with many software development companies, and this happened till 1918, till I decided to start a new, let's say, a new business. I decided to deliver trainings or act as an agile coach for different software development teams from Cluj and from other cities of our country. I'm happy to be a co-host of a podcast which talks about agile concepts. Together with Bogdan Muresan. Its name is Retrospective Agile, Agile Retrospectives, because it is it's in Romanian. And we have already 27 episodes and more than 6,000 unique listeners, let's say. So if you like, if you will enjoy the talk today, I will invite you to listen also that podcast. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Peter?
Okay, I'm going to stand up. I don't like talking sitting down. It compresses my lungs and I can't speak properly. I also like to walk. I started work in IT half a century ago. I worked in languages such as Fortran and the original versions of COBOL, a bit of assembler language, all these wonderful things from ages gone by. I worked with punch cards and paper tapes, which was a nightmare, but we did it. I was looking at someone just now who was walking around swinging his laptop and remembered my first laptop. We were told very carefully, you have to switch it off, wait until the disk has stopped spinning before you move it at all. So it's been a long time. I worked at the various levels you would expect in IT. So I was a developer, I was a team leader, I was a project manager, I headed up a research and development center. And then between 20 and 25 years ago, I got headhunted and became a consultant and coach. More exactly, I got headhunted and became an auditor, and I was a very bad auditor. I would come into organizations and compare what you did to what my book said you should do, and if you didn't do what my book said, you were wrong, and if you did what my book said, I could tick a box. I soon realized this isn't helping anybody and moved on from that and started trying to explain why this was a good idea, and soon realized that perhaps actually my book was wrong and that the whole system of auditing was wrong. And so I started focusing more on the culture and continual improvement aspects. The idea is that you, here in Cluj, are not in Silicon Valley. You Romanians are not Americans. You're not Indian, you're not Chinese. And what works for them does not necessarily work for you. And if we want to talk about continual improvement, we have to find a way that motivates you specifically. I have been coming to Cluj for, as far as I can remember, between 12 and 15 years, and excluding the COVID period, I've been coming every year. I have worked in some of your companies. I have helped some of you. I have spoken at various conferences. I'm a big fan of Cluj, and I have warned Cluj about things which were or were not taken into account, but I'll leave that for now. And I'm giving a talk in 2 hours here, where I will tell you more about that. On Monday, we had a short meeting online, the 3 of us, to try and organize this. And the suggestion was that we would start perhaps with a brief presentation of our point of view on Agile and what it meant. And I very sneakily and unfairly suggest that we do this alphabetically by first name, which means, Bogdan, do you want to tell us about Agile?
What can I say now? Yes, but very important, before we start talking about Agile, for those who will have the courage to ask questions, and we do hope that there are a lot of people who are asking questions, we do have chocolate. So we have prizes, okay? So if you ask a question, you receive a chocolate. So now we can start talk for real.
Otherwise, we will eat.
We will eat a lot of chocolate, and we don't want that. Yeah, it's very interesting because a lot of the times I'm getting these questions, this question, like what is Agile and what does Agile mean to me when people hear what I'm doing, and not necessarily people from which do have any relation or correlation with Agile or at the IT industry, and I'm meeting new people from different industries. I must admit that in the beginning it was very hard to state very briefly, like the pitch elevator, what is Agile, why is good for you. But lately, what I got to say a lot is that the Agile mindset, if I would have to get it down to the Agile concept, it refers a lot to trying things fast, learning and moving towards the goal, but maybe changing the direction on how you get the goal, or even at one point the goal if the goal is not good. But this cycle of trying things fast, learning, it's really, really, really important in deciding where you go. And I had a small twitch to this lately because mostly because of what's happening in the world in the last year, last 2 years maybe, but mostly last year, when all the businesses are in an accelerated rhythm to find the right thing for them. It's a time now when a lot of businesses, if you don't find what is right for you, basically you die as a business. And now this agility that businesses need to have to find the right things for them, it's supported, or should be supported very, very well by the Agile mindset, about exactly what I said before, like being able to try things fast, to not be chaotic, but in the same time to not get stuck into the processes, and learn from it. Very, very important. Learn from it and decide with the right data in hand how you continue from there. Long story short.
Oh, okay. Cool. I will tell you something that I used to say every time when I talk about agile and agility. And as I said, I'm teaching Agile at our university at the first year of 4 of our master programs. And usually the students who attend my courses are already part of software project teams. They work for, I don't know, maybe 2 or even more years in developing projects in different software development companies from Cluj-Napoca mainly. And I used to ask them about what they use on their projects. What are the tools they use? What are the processes they implement? Which are the framework they use for managing those projects, and so on. And usually, in 99% of the answers, I receive almost the same answer. Okay, they say we use Scrum, or we use Kanban, or we use Scrumban, or we use extreme programming, or other framework, or other methodology, or another practice. But after that, they continue and they say, yeah, you know, but that's not like it is written in the book. It's not by the book. It's not the real Scrum. It's not the real Kanban. It's a little bit different. So all of them seem to be frustrated that they are not implementing the pure framework or the pure methodology they have to implement. And in my opinion, this is Agile. The fact that you adapt, the fact that you change something based on the particular context of your project, based on the particular organizational culture of your company, based on your particular client behavior, let's say, or project content. So there is no such thing like the right way of doing Agile or the right way of being Agile. There are so many flavors. There are so many ways to achieve this goal, to become Agile. And this is the most important thing to learn when we try to embrace this idea or to follow this mindset.
Okay. I am not a fan of Agile. I am a fan of the various things that Agile tries to do. The reason I'm not a fan of Agile is that it's not new. It's as old as it can be. 20, 30 years ago, we had something called a recursive old age. They say with old age, memory is the second thing to go. I don't remember what the first was. So we had a recursive life cycle, and the idea of a recursive life cycle was that you prioritize your customers' needs based on useful criteria. So it might be the core of the system that you're going to prioritize, or it might be the thing that requires most validation that you want to do first, or it might be the thing that is most complicated to do and you don't want to have to redo it, that you do it first. But you prioritize it. And then you take those priority needs, you transform them into requirements, you do the design, and the design is not a one-step phase. Design is a loop, a series of activities where you look at various potential solutions, identify which is the best one, and then start building it with controls built into it. And then you start developing and testing it, and you release it for demonstration to the customer. And then there is a risk management phase in which you consider the risks of this project in the whole thing, and you make a very important decision. That is the go, no go. In other words, we're going to decide, are we investing too much money? If I look at how much of the budget has already been spent, how much time we have already spent on this, and how much we have developed, is it a good idea to continue with this or not? And if it is a good idea, then we will go around and have a look at the next set of priority needs, requirements, design, development, test, and come back to the risk management and the go, no-go decision. The go, no-go decision, for me, is so important because it means on a regular basis we are going to stop and decide, are we throwing good money after bad? Are we falling in to the fallacy of previous investments? So we've already spent so much money on this, we can't possibly stop it now or it will be wasted. It is wasted and you're going to waste more. So we had a spiral where we kept on building on what it was. We had something called function points or feature points. And the idea here was that we were going to estimate how much effort was required and how much time it would take and how much it would cost to develop a particular section of the product. And this was based on clear criteria such as how many inputs, how many outputs, how many interfaces, how many formula, and so on. So we had a number of very objective criteria which allowed us to determine how many function points there were, and based on the number of function points we could then say, well, this is how many function points we do per day on average, and we can decide how long this is going to take. We had something called quality circles. And the quality circle was people doing the same job, working together, working on the same project, coming together on a regular basis, every day, every week, whenever, whatever made sense, to decide what worked well, what didn't work well, how can we change our approach, our process, what additional tools do we need in order to make this more efficient. And then, of course, at every phase of our development, we had a post-mortem. And the post-mortem was looking back at what we have done, deciding what was good, what was bad, why did it fail, why did it succeed, and taking lessons from it. In other words, Agile is just redigesting old technologies and principles that have been going on for many, many decades. What Agile did, which was very good, was they found sexy names. Okay? Who in their right mind does not want to be agile? Scrum. What's a scrum? Scrum is a rugby term. It's a bunch of big men, very fit in very tight shorts, huddled together, showing their bums. Okay? Depending on your preferences, it's a very sexy concept. So Agile did a fantastic marketing effort with the terminology, but quite honestly didn't invent anything. What they tried to do was get rid of bad habits from organizations that did not understand. So there were basic principles. You need to communicate. That sounds like a good idea. You need to communicate. Now, obviously, 30, 40 years ago, communicate did not mean WhatsApp. Communicate meant document, because documentation allows me to communicate to my colleagues, but it also allows me to communicate to myself in 6 months' time and understand what I did well or what I did wrong. The fact that we use the word documentation to mean communication means that a lot of organizations got lost in paperwork, pointless paperwork. And I agree, working software is more important than documentation. A lot of companies misunderstood and misapplied what was the original waterfall life cycle. And the waterfall life cycle is a recursive life cycle where at every step you are going back to check what you've done previously and validating it and verifying it. And in the original waterfall, you are not throwing things over the wall from one team to the next. You are working together, you are communicating, and you are learning from your mistakes in real time. By misapplying, the problem with waterfall is that when Barry, can't remember his surname now, when Barry first defined the waterfall approach, he put a graph on page 2 of his document. And because we like and understand pictures much better than we understand words, a majority of people never read the document, but just looked at the graph and said, okay, we'll do all the requirements, and then when that's done, we will start doing all the architecture, and then when that's done, and so on. That's not what it was about. And yes, it was necessary to correct these problems. It was urgent to correct these problems. And perhaps the marketing and pushing the words of Agile and Scrum and Kanban instead of to-do lists was valid if it brought people back to what these technologies were originally meant to be doing. I leave it at that.
Yeah, you forgot about artifacts and ceremonies, isn't it?
Ah, ceremonies. Okay, you want ceremonies? What is a ceremony? Look it up in a dictionary. A ceremony is an event, typically a religious event, which commemorates or remembers or celebrates something. It is high in symbolism and low in practicality. Okay? We have got a ceremony is going for communion, a ceremony is getting married, a ceremony is a funeral. Very little useful stuff comes out of that. But it is symbolic. Okay? So I'm back to quality circles instead of most of these ceremonies. I'm back to interaction. I'm back to working together as a team. And I think one of the biggest failures of Agile, the thing that really upsets me, is in every discipline, whatever you are trying to do, mastery is achieved after around 10,000 hours of practice. If you don't do your 10,000 hours of practice, you will not be a master violinist. You will not be a master painter. That's how long it takes. Do it, fail, do it again. In Agile, you become a master after 2 days training. Okay? Scrum Masters should not be named master. There's Scrum practitioners, they're Scrum facilitators, whatever you want. They are not masters, and they should not think of themselves as masters because they immediately think they're in charge, which they are not. So I'll leave it at that for now.
I have an observation here and a challenge for you guys. I think it only starts with the training. It should start from a point. But indeed, one of my favorite books is Peak from Anders Ericsson, which was, unfortunately, he died a couple of years ago, Swedish psychologist who studied how we progress for 45 years. And he wrote some really good materials. He wrote also this book. And he wrote that the 10,000 hours are good as long as in that time you actually challenge yourself and you look back and constantly improve and so on. So I think it starts from the training, but you need to get that practice and that constant look, because if you do the 10,000 hours, the same thing over and over, you won't improve. You won't improve at all. So yes, I think it's an interesting concept. It needs to start from somewhere. But I like something that you said, and this is my challenge for you guys. You said that Agile tried to eliminate the bad stuff, but still, one of the things which I encountered in many situations in the last year, and even now, again, these times you can see it, is that Agile is adopted and implemented in a lot of companies for good reasons, for bad reasons, because it's a hype, or because somebody heard that it's cool, or because somebody wants to, for real, to solve some problems. And one of the challenges is related to what you mentioned. In the past, it was a translation between the effort that you do, the features, which basically tied the effort, the cost from the output, not the outcome that those features would get. Now, Agile brings also a lot of flexibility and allows us gives us this power to try things fast and change things. And the stakeholders, and I'm saying stakeholders meaning from everybody, like even the board of directors going very up in the hierarchy. They want this flexibility. They want to change. They want to adapt fast. But in the same time, they also want this very tight correlation about plans and budgeting and how do I put the money for the next 6 months, what do I get in return. Even I will change my mind 10,000 times in the next 6 months. So how do you guys see these problems, or a solution for this problem?
So a few years back, I was talking to representatives of the software development for the British border control. And they were saying they have been asked to work agile. It was very important to be agile. And I said, okay, so one of the key elements of agile is continuous communication with your customer. You want to present what you have done, you want them to approve it, you want to decide what needs to come next, and you want to work with your customer. So just out of curiosity, how often do you, British border control software developers, meet your end users? Never. Okay. How do your requirements come in? The requirements come in at the beginning, all of them. We are asked to do a full estimate of how long this is going to take, how much it's going to cost. We very rarely have changes, but they have decided we have to be agile. They are the politicians. They don't really know what they're talking about. I asked the guy, I said, do you think they, when they ask you agile, have any idea what they're asking for? And he said, no, of course not. They don't understand the first thing about software development or any of the life cycles. I said, if you were in charge, what would you do? And he said, well, we've got everything we need to do a classical waterfall approach. So I said, okay, the answer is simple. Do your classical waterfall approach and put out progress reports on a regular basis where you use agile-related words so as to please them, because they just want the word. Agile sounds good, it must be good. And so that's what they did, and it worked. Okay? We suffer today, as far as I'm concerned, of too many organizations, too many people, too many consultants, coaches, and it's as a consultant and a coach that I'm saying it, who are pushing agile in places where it doesn't work. Agile is not the silver bullet for every software development. Sometimes you need to use other techniques. One of the, and I can't remember his name now, one of the founding fathers of Agile said that any organization that enforces Agile on all their projects proves that they have not understood what it's about, because you should not be using Agile on all projects. You should be using Agile where you have evidence to believe that this is the most effective approach.
Yeah, I think that this is a big problem, because usually those guys who are very high in a hierarchy, they think they don't need to change anything. They know how to do things. Everything should be changed at the team's level.
They think they know how to do things.
Yes. They think this. So that's why it's not usual. Well, let's say it's very difficult to get at least one of them, what to say about all of them at the same time in one room and participate in an agile workshop to talk about what they have to do, what they have to change, what they have to behave while the organization is changing to a new mindset. They are not available. They don't think they need this kind of things. So in any agile transformation, you can go bottom up to follow a bottom up approach, but at the same time a top down approach is needed. So otherwise, you will see that everything fails, and it's not nothing is better than it was in the past.
Approximately 80 years ago, Dr. Deming wrote that quality is senior managers' problems and can never be passed on to anybody else. As long as senior management has not decided what quality means and how we're going to implement it and build a system that works, it is their responsibility for everything that goes wrong. Of course, we don't want to do that. We'll put a project manager and tell them that it's their fault, and fire a few developers and hire a quality manager who doesn't know anything, and they can take responsibility. Responsibility without authority, of course.
We said that we'll take also questions from the audience, but we didn't give the chance to.
Yes,
to
let's
launch.
open up to questions. Can we switch on the lights in the room with like the audience participation here?
We have
Oh,
at
look,
least
there
one.
are people there.
Yes. Chipri, do you have more mics or I don't see if Chipri is there anymore, but.
And for those who didn't want...
You have also chocolate.
We have chocolate, yes. That's important.
I only want the microphone, but yeah. Hello. So in this Agile world, we are doing Agile to improve, right? But in order to know that we need to improve, we need to measure stuff. What kind of metrics do you think we can use to know that we are doing good and we are not doing bad, or vice versa, that we are doing bad and we need to improve? I'm studying a few of those. I was trying a few of those, like OKRs, KPIs, all of these kind of acronyms. What is your opinion about metrics in an Agile environment?
KPIs are destructive. KPIs are an extrinsic form of motivation. We need to promote intrinsic motivation. In other words, we need to find out what motivates you to do a good job and work from that. We need measurement, absolutely. Measurement is key. You cannot improve if you don't measure. However, when we talk about measurement, I'm willing to bet that 99% of the people in this room are measuring the wrong thing. Why? Because measurement, you think, is numbers, and so we're going to measure the easy stuff. We're going to measure how much money this costs. We're going to measure how many days it takes. Oh, and of course, you're estimating story points, maybe, but you're not going back to those estimates. You need to start measuring quality, which means you need to define quality in quantitative terms. What does it mean? You need to measure improvement, which means you need to define quality and improvement and potentially innovation in quantitative terms. How do we do that? We need to measure the effectiveness of the system you have in place. I don't care who made a mistake. We all make mistakes. We make mistakes every day. We make mistakes every hour, and that is normal and that is acceptable. What is not acceptable is that the system you are working in is allowing you to make mistakes. If you fail, it is because you were given bad requirements, because you were not given the time you needed to do something correctly, because you were pushed to deliver something too fast. I mean, we've got some beautiful examples. If you remember, a few years ago, there were a series of crashes of the new Boeing. And that Boeing, those planes crashed because, for political reasons, they decided to push them out the door before they had validated what was happening. If they had gone to the end and actually worked on what they should have done, they would have had to train pilots a lot more, they would have had to come back, and it would have taken a lot longer and cost a lot more money. So they pushed it out, a plane which was not suitable for purpose. You need to measure what is important to you. I've spent many years going in to ask senior managements of organization, what is quality for you? And it is very rare that I get an answer. Quality is good enough. No, it isn't. Good enough is never good enough. Quality is no defects. That's not quality. No defects means you are satisfying your contractual obligation. Quality is something more. Tell me what is quality in your organization? What makes you different from your competitors? Why would I want to come to you and not to your competitor? What is quality for you? And then let's start talking about how we're going to measure this, and then we can start talking about how we're going to implement it. And measurement does not necessarily mean numbers. Measurement means objective evidence that reduces my uncertainty about a topic. So you can measure things without using numbers. There are different ways of doing it. I won't go more into that now.
Okay, I will provide another point of view that's pretty short. Let me give you a very simple answer. Just look at the competition and ask yourself if they deliver faster value to their customers than us. If they do this, we are not agile enough. So there is enough space and we can become more agile. And that's like that. It's just a simple comparison. Do they launch faster products on the market than us? If yes, they are more agile than us. Yeah, of course, at the company level. If I have to ask the question, if we should go through an agile transformation or not.
Why can't you measure it at the team level? If we're talking about the rapidity to deliver, you can measure that between teams. Now, I will put a caveat on that, because for me, it is the time it takes to deliver customer satisfaction, not the time it takes to deliver a product. I worked in a company a few years ago where they had a big celebration because they managed to deliver a product on time, which was a first for them. And the team that delivered the product on time was offered as a reward a trip to the beach in Spain to go and have a 1-week holiday in the Costa del Sol or wherever it was. Meanwhile, the customer support team was working 18-hour days, 7 days a week, trying to get the damn thing to work. But the customer had received it, so the development team was rewarded. So it's more than just delivering software, please. Why have we switched the lights off again? Can we switch the lights on in the audience, please? No?
It's a good start.
Come in. Other question? At the back. They're going to need a microphone back there.
Hi, I have a concrete question regarding estimates. Which one do you think is more efficient between estimates in man days or in story points?
No.
Yes.
Estimating ultimately is guessing. No matter how much information you have at your disposal, there comes a time when you're doing a wild guess. I do not think one estimating method is necessarily better than the other, because I don't know if what I call the story point is correct or not. I don't know what a man day is, because some people work faster than others, some people work better than others, some people work longer hours than others. So I don't know what it means if I bring it down to that. What I recommend is that you measure the estimating skills of your estimators. So I want to see, Bob, I was going to come up with a Romanian name, but I thought this might be one in the room who'll get offended. Bob made an estimate, and as we look over his estimates and compare his estimates to what actually happened, he is getting better every time. He is getting more precise every time. Now, Bob has understood how to estimate. On the other hand, Bill over here is still under or overestimating by an average of 25% every time, and is making bad guesses and is not learning from it or improving themselves. So if you want a good estimating method, you start training your estimators to measure what they said it was going to take or how much it was going to cost with reality, and learn lessons from it every single time. Why did I underestimate, overestimate? And once you have done that, I don't care what you're estimating. Story points, man days, bananas, it works. But you need a point, you need to learn from your mistakes. We all estimate wrong. If we didn't estimate wrong, then we would have I don't believe in seers and visionaries, okay? So the Delphi approach of having an old lady in a cave inhaling poisonous fumes so that she can predict the future, that only works so far. So when you estimate, you're going to get it wrong. Understand why you got it wrong, understand what you need to do in order to improve it, so that you're a good estimator rather than a good technique.
Yeah, I think that the real problem is not the accuracy of the estimation, because as Peter said, I truly believe that that's something that you can improve and you are never right. The truly problem is that appears, or the pressure when this estimation needs to be translated in a commitment. And I think that's why a lot of people, to be honest, I'm including myself, there are very afraid of the estimations. Because as soon as somebody asks, do you have a vague idea on what is the effort, when this can happen, and you say, I do have a vague idea, it's 2 to 3 months, everybody hears, in 2 months sharp, everything will be delivered perfect, with the perfect quality. Everybody forgets that it's an estimation, everybody forgets that it's a high-level estimation, everybody forgets that it's vague in the beginning, and that's when a lot of the problems appear. So what do we need to do is indeed, whatever the method is, to try to be more accurate and make this distinction between commitment and estimation. And I do like more story points than mandates.
Another problem in estimating is that we tend to ask the most experienced people to do the estimating. So me, with my 30 years experience, I estimate this is going to take 2 weeks, and then it's given to somebody to develop who has got 2 weeks worth of experience and takes 5 times as long. And note that when you take longer than the estimate, it's always the developer's fault rather than the estimator's. We always put the pressure on the developer to hurry up rather than saying, why did the estimator get it so badly wrong?
I would like to add here just a few sentences. First of all, yeah, I also like more to estimate in story points. It is more fun and it's exotic, no? As you said. But on the other hand, I think that estimating in time is better when there is individual estimation and one person has to estimate his or her own effort. And story points are better for estimating in a team when everybody from that project team participates and together they try to estimate user stories or functionalities, not tasks. On the other hand, there is the third option, #no estimates, when you don't have to estimate at all, you just have to count the number, the user stories which were done in one iteration in the past, and use this metric to forecast and to try to predict how many user stories will be executed in one iteration in future. And having this number, how many iterations do we need to empty the product backlog? And sometimes this result is better than doing the actual estimates, no matter the technique. And you don't have to spend that time in the sprint planning or iteration planning. And everybody just start working on their user stories, which is more productive. This could be another way of doing things.
I mentioned just now that people tend to measure what's easy rather than what's useful, which is why many years ago there was a big pressure to estimate lines of code, which was the most stupid idea they could come up with. So the more efficient developer you were to deliver a working product with fewer lines, the less good you were because you took more time to write those lines. And slowly we came to the conclusion, nobody actually knows what is a line of code because it's variable. Should comments be included and so on. So there are lots of estimating techniques. Some are very bad. The others work if you do them correctly.
Maybe for last question.
Yeah, I have one more question. I don't need a chocolate for this one. Fail fast and try harder. How these two can align in a like an agile team? Because we all the time want to fail fast, right? So if something is going to fail, to notice as soon as possible and stop there, not invest more in that. But on the other hand, there is the try harder approach. Maybe it is going to succeed if we are going to try harder. We don't know because we didn't try yet.
The problem with fail fast is you're not authorized to do it. You should be looking for failures. You should be trying to break your code every day. That's the focus of it. You should be able to come up and say, I did this, it doesn't work. I've just wasted 2 weeks, but I've learned something. That is a positive statement. That is something worthwhile. but will your management reward you for having failed, fast or not? And think, oh, I'm so glad this didn't end up in the customer and that it's pushed back our revenue by a few weeks, but at least we've learned a lesson. Okay, so you have to have permission to fail, and you have to try to fail. Years ago, I developed an international accounting system, and I designed the whole thing, and I worked out how to calculate taxes in hundreds of different countries and what it meant and how it all fit together. And I presented this to the development team, and I said, this is how it's going to work, and here are the features we need and how we're going to set it all up. And then I said, now, please shoot it down. And they were a bit surprised. It was a team that had never worked with me, and they said, you mean you want us to tell you that it's correct? And I said, no, I want you to tell me why it will not work before we go any further. Because it's just ideas on paper. I need to know now why it's wrong. Otherwise, we cannot start. And you have to encourage people. Coming back to estimating, when senior management is reviewing your estimates, or middle management or whoever, their focus should be, have they planned in enough time for this? Did they not forget to? Is this feasible? Is this reasonable? Most managers, in my experience, are trying to cut down the amount of time and the budget you're going to get to do it. In other words, they are creating defects from the start, telling you, ooh, you said this is going to take 3 months, customer wants it in 2 months, so do it, work faster, okay? It doesn't work. You have to have permission to fail. You have to have permission to speak up and advertise your failure. I would like a story from Netflix. Netflix has got a very generous budgeting system. You've got a good idea. You talk to a few people about it. You say, look, I would like to do this. I think this is a program that will be successful. I need $2 million. And the approach of Netflix is very much to give you the freedom to do it. And then 2 possible results. It's successful. It was a good investment. We created something that has taken the world. We're glad we did it. Or 2, you're coming back in front of your teams, and you are going to explain to your teams what you have learned from your failure so that they don't repeat it. And only then can you fail fast. If you can be proud of your failures and say, look, this is what I did wrong, now you don't have to do it anymore.
There is another story from Spotify, I think. They had the fail of the month. So because they wanted to ask as fast as possible to the needs of their customers, they wanted to make their employees to be able to solve the customer problems as fast as possible, not to ask their management for approval and so on. So they had this fail of the month. The one who failed and lost a lot of money got a prize at the end of the month and was congratulated by the CEO. So this is a permission for failure.
And because we do not have more time, I just want to say it was exactly the same in my mind. If it's awesome that we have this mentality that fail fast, but how many times do we really have the permission to do it? Or when we do it, how many times are we actually not challenged, argued, scolded, and so on? And this is the mentality that would help us move forward, like really have the permission to fail. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for the questions and for listening to us. Peter, then, it was a pleasure.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you to our panelists. Always a pleasure to have you on our stage.